Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Andrea Welsh, and today's episode, How One Nurse Seized Control of Her Career in Uncertain Times.
I'm tired of seeing, health system fail our patients, this health system that we have here in the US fail the staff that's working it. I'm tired of seeing, profits over people again and again, even though, we have these different organizations that are talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. And so I'm watching these fantastic medical providers burn up and burn out and check out and lose that spark that made them such a phenomenal medical worker in the first place. And I really do believe that, whole person care is about creating environments that both patients and staff want to be part of. And that change has to start with us medical people, the ones that did get burned out, the ones that did, burn up and burn out. And we need to lead that charge because we've been there. So we have a very unique perspective on what is going on. And so being able to then go out here and being like, okay, I am going to take this clinical expertise that I have. I'm going to take this writing experience that I have, and I'm going to put it together, and I'm going to make this thing, and I'm going to change the world with it. At least that's the plan.
Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our free webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. And welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Andrea Welsh of Clockwork Cursive out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Hi, Tina. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. And I'd like to start with the first question of what made you become a nurse?
Well, it was not my first choice. Actually, when it comes to career, I actually started out my career in real estate and doing transaction coordination, which is fixing properties and things so that they can sell. And then after the 2008 housing market crash, I kind of had to reevaluate things and started thinking about, what do I really want to do? How do I want to help? What can make the most difference? And by some a strange bit of divine intervention, a pamphlet appeared for a nursing school that I had not applied for, with some information that I did not ask for. And I said, okay, yep, that's my sign. And started getting the prereqs and everything together and went off on that journey. So I've been a nurse now for almost 17 years and have done a little bit of everything. And it has been one heck of a ride.
Oh, that sounds great. You know what? I tell you, the universe sometimes provides the answer for us, right?
Absolutely.
Nursing was not on my, um, in my window either. I wasn't thinking about nursing at all. And a missionary came up to me and said to me, "You will be a wonderful nurse one day and you'll do big things."
Isn't
And
that
I said,
awesome?
I, And I said, I am not going to be a nurse. I'm going to be a doctor because at that time I was just absolutely sure that medical school is what I wanted until I got started and then realized, no, it's not.
I've heard that more than once.
Yeah. Um, Took the MCAT twice, just could not get myself to put in the application. It wasn't what I wanted. And I went to my first
Yeah.
nursing class, and man, that was right where I needed to be. So tell me a little bit
Yep.
about your career. You said you've been in a lot of different places. What was your first nursing job?
My first nursing job was trial by fire, and I'll tell you that straight off the bat because my first nursing job was actually doing psych and geriatrics with the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. And for a new nurse, who has all the textbook information and you know how, this is all the bits and all this processes and everything, you get thrown into that kind of a situation. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was kind of crazy, but I learned so much so fast because you had to. The clinics that we were working at, we dealt a lot with the geriatric patients, we dealt a lot with the psych patients, but I kept getting pulled to wound care. I would get pulled to endocrinology, because I pick up things really fast, and the doctors like to work with me. So, got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. So it was a fantastic way to start my career. And then from there, I went into doing some floor work with Trinity Health, and then I moved into telephone triage, which was a whole new world for me too, because I not really a phone person, but I was like, that's one of the things that people need. They're calling, not having a good day. You very rarely get somebody who's having a good day when you're doing triage. So
True.
being able to, you know, help calm them down with just your voice and using that knowledge. So, all of this didn't matter because it was just me, my voice, the patient, and what I knew. And so I did that for quite a long time. And then switched into doing actual management and leadership with some smaller health centers. So it's been a very interesting little curve up and down, and now I'm here. So
That's wonderful. Now, where did you go to school?
I actually went to nursing school at a very small community college up in Northeast Michigan, in a town called Alpena. And, as you know, nursing programs are like crazy competitive, just
Yes.
absolutely crazy competitive. So it actually took me about a year when I started doing the prereqs to actually be able to get into the school. And it was one of those weird situations where um, I always joke that I don't remember much about the actual classes and things because I had been waiting for a long time to get into nursing school. And then I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And I had then we found out that actually that my ex-husband was going to be deployed to Iraq for a year. And
Oh
so it
wow.
was just like, okay, this is going to be crazy. So my daughter was born. 2 weeks later, my ex-husband deployed to Iraq. A week later, I found out I got into nursing school, and it was one of those situations where it's now or never.
Hmm.
So dove in with an infant, a 6-year-old, a husband that was deployed, and and got through it, graduated, and I figured if I can do that, I can do anything.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you were a military spouse then?
Yeah, my ex-husband was in the National Guard,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, my husband
so
served in,
and
in the army
that's a
in the
whole
National
other
Guard.
yeah, that's a whole other situation when you're trying to juggle stuff. But that's one of the reasons that I actually kind of naturally gravitated toward the VA for my first career because I took my NCLEX and then was looking for different positions. And since he had gotten back, like he got back like just a few days before I graduated from nursing school, and so I was taking him to all of his pre or post deployment doctor's visits. And I was sitting around outside one of the buildings one day, and this lady came over and we were talking, and she's like, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to find a job as a nurse. I just got my license." And she's like, "Come with me," and literally took me upstairs to HR to have a conversation. And I got hired about a week later.
Oh, that's great.
So another one of those little divine moments this is where you need to be and this is what you need to be doing. So I try to
There
pay
you
attention to those.
well, I think that's important because a lot of times we miss our opportunities when we don't see what's right in front of us. We're so focused on hearing, from nursery school, we're always taught, oh, you have to do that year in med surge and you have to, you know, work a certain shift or whatever. That's not necessarily true. And so it's kind of similar. I had an opportunity work in psychiatry or work on med surge, and I really wanted the job in psychiatry because I was already burnt out on med surge as a nurse tech. I was like, I don't want to do that. And
Oh
I
yeah.
called him up and I said, hey, if you want me, you got to give me a yes because this other hospital is saying they want me. And they took me. So it worked out. It always works out.
Well, and that's one of the big things that you have to do, especially, not even just in nursing, but just in general. And then even if you're looking into going into this entrepreneur avenue, is really watch for those opportunities because you got to be ready to pivot on a moment's notice to be like, yes, I can do that, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what I can provide. And it's worked out really well because like the way my brain works, I can kind of process things a little bit faster than most folks. So it works out well for me to have, oh, can you do this? Yes, and here's how I can help you out with this, whatever it is. And I found that as I've started to do and starting working through the different areas of like niching down, um, in medical writing and in doing this entrepreneur adventure. Uh, that's something that I really have had to do is just being able to pivot on a moment's notice.
Well, I can imagine that has definitely had to happen, because we've talked about this on the show before with other guests about the pandemic. And I know that a lot of people had to shift and pivot. What was your experience like during that time? Were you working clinically as a nurse?
I was working clinically in an outpatient just health center, and honestly, that's what broke me was COVID because just seeing not just the uncertainty that everybody was dealing with, and not just patients. I mean, the healthcare staff. People come to us because we have answers that they don't have. We have education and experience they don't have, and we're standing there going, we don't know what's going on. I
Right.
started out at the beginning of the pandemic. I was doing triage still, and yeah, people calling. There was just a lot of phone calls, and you're trying to do the best you can to give the answers, but the answers are changing between morning and afternoon,
Yes.
and so it was hard. It was really hard, and not being able to, having to be there, like right there with everybody, and not being able to help is one of the most like helpless feelings when you're a nurse because you want to be able to do that, and all you can say is, I'm here and I'm here with you and we're going through this together. So in a lot of ways it did help, especially in the outpatient situation, because I did a lot of like what we called the COVID care at that time.
Hmm.
So people would call, hey, I'm having symptoms. I got a positive test. What do I do? And it was literally, okay, you get in there first thing in the morning. What's today's updates on recommendations and all this stuff of what we need to be telling folks? And then we took it a step further, the triage nurses and I, because we actually followed up with people. And that's kind of where I'm going into with what I'm doing now is that personal touch. Hey, are you doing okay? You don't have to make 6 phone calls, but we did anyway
Right.
because that's what you do when you have a human that's hurting and you want to be human to them. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle because you had a lot of folks that folks were scared. We were all scared. Um, but coming out of that and being able to see how things have grown and changed, I moved into from doing triage once the vaccines came out to being able to actually set up those vaccine clinics and organize all those and dealing with folks' fears and excitement and just all the things that came along with that. So it was a heck of a ride. I feel like
I
the last like 5 years have been a roller coaster for anybody that's been in it. But that's also part of the job. So,
I I know it was a little bit difficult for us navigating that because we had people, because again, I work in psychiatry, so I had people's fears from if I come in, will I get something? So we went to at home. Well, I had a lot of people that had agoraphobia, and we were getting them out of their house, and now we're telling them to stay home. um, and so we had to rebuild all of that when we came back. And I remember seeing a client who came into my office, and she brought her own hand sanitizer and wipes so she can wipe down the chairs before she sat in it. And so there was a lot of
Yeah.
things like that, that fear of the unknown. So I appreciate the work that you did during that time, because it was very difficult to know what to say, how to comfort people, because we didn't know, and who's going to comfort us when we're looking at our coworkers who are getting sick and they're getting exposed and all those different things. And so I really appreciate all that nurses are doing during that time, because I don't think we were appreciated enough, and I don't think we still are.
Well, and one of the things that, and this is like just a personal bit for me, but I get tired of hearing the term healthcare heroes because
Oh,
we're human.
yes.
We are
Hmm.
not up on a pedestal. And I know that the sentiment is meant to be, encouraging and like we really appreciate you. It's like, but at the same time, it really just rubs me the wrong way because that dehumanizes medical
Hmm.
providers and nurses and just everybody because we we're human. We are making the best and making do with the best. Sometimes when you put that kind of a label on and that kind of pedestal, then you end up with some unrealistic expectations.
Definitely. I think about the fact that, the first time during COVID, the first time
And I
someone
think
came up
that's
to me.
where I started making the decision that I had to do something different. But to help the staff,
Yes.
watching so many people kind of stagger and stumble on that, it was hard. It was really hard to watch, and it made me just start kind of rethinking, and that was where the beginning of wanting to kind of strike out on my own, and see what I can do started.
So tell me a little bit about your business. What's happening with your business, and how did you get started doing what you're doing?
Well, I decided it was time for a change. I got let go from a job that I enjoyed, and really just kind of had to take stock in myself and figure out, okay, what do I want to do? And I guess it's hard. I don't know. I'm stumbling a little bit just because I'm like I'm tired. I'm tired of
Mhm.
seeing health system fail our patients. This health system that we have here in the U.S. fail the staff that's working it. Um, I'm tired of seeing profits over people again and again, even though we have these different organizations that are talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. And so I'm watching these fantastic medical providers burn up and burn out and check out and lose that spark that made them such a phenomenal medical worker in the first place. And I really do believe that, whole person care is about creating environments that both patients and staff want to be part of, and that change has to start with us medical people, the ones that did get burned out, the ones that did, you know, burn up and burn out, and we need to lead that charge because we've been there. So we have a very unique perspective on what is going on. And so being able to then go out here and being like, okay, I am going to take this clinical expertise that I have. I'm going to take this writing experience that I have, and I'm going to put it together and I'm going to make this thing and I'm going to change the world with it. At least that's the plan.
Hey, hey. So tell me. So, what are some of the things that you're working on currently? What's your 2025 big goal?
Ooh, 2025 big goal. So, complete overhaul of the medical system? No, not really. Well, starting one health center at a time. So, Yeah, when I'm talking about like communication, communications and the writings, I see some things that are coming out of various health systems that I'm like, are you, is that really your voice? Is this really what you want people to be seeing you saying? You know, when you have groups that are like, oh, we're person focused, and yet the word person, people, human does not appear anywhere in their
Yeah.
communications. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now is I'm working with a couple of health centers to kind of humanize their content, their website content, their communications, their patient education. I'm also a huge data geek, and I am a my big soapbox that I stand on is that, you know, when you're looking at data and you're looking at metrics, it's not just numbers. These are people. These are lives.
Yes.
These are the things you have to be, you know, having that thought in the back of your head when you're anytime you're looking at anything. It's not a care gap we have to close. These are people that are hurting that we're not helping. So I've been working with some health centers on data literacy and data governance programs, like specifically being able to not only know what data to pull, but what to do with it when you've got it, and then how to communicate that out so it does something. I see a lot of health centers that have a lot of, oh, we've got 100 reports. Well, that's great. But what are they? Who are they meant for? And why are these people getting them? And then what are they supposed to say about it? And that's where we see a lot of stumbling. So being able to tighten that up and pull that together so that there's a lot more continuity and purpose in what is being out there instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall, so to speak. I work too with helping health centers to, and I'm working actually with some speakers as well that speak at like health conventions and things like that to help them kind of streamline that message and
Mm-hmm.
kind of keeping that same overall message of people first. So it's been it's been a steep learning curve, but um, you know, just watching, especially the smaller health centers, just watching them fret about budgets and budget cuts and whether they're going to be able to get the monies that they need. And, you know, they're so overburdened and they are overburdened serving the most vulnerable people. So
Yes.
it's really important that they are as efficient as possible. And there's a lot of areas that can be tweaked in that. Um, my last position that I had that I've actually been working in compliance and quality assurance, and that was fantastic for me because I like to cross all my T's and dot all my I's and make sure all my lines are great and in, you know, in little
Mm-hmm.
rows. Um, but making compliance be not a department of, you know, no, but a department of no, because you can't fix what you don't know. And
Right.
all of that has kind of cascaded into what I'm doing now. So we have quality assurance, we have quality improvement. I'm doing a little bit of compliance stuff. We're doing some organization. We're throwing in some writing. We're working with numbers. It's just this wonderful little soup pot of things, and I have never had so much fun in my life.
That sounds wonderful. Can I just say this? Because I think it's important for our listeners to hear this. Um, I have a lot of listeners who are registered nurses, and there's this thing out there that says, you know, RNs are the ones who own the businesses, LPNs cannot. And on your title here, it says LPN CHPC. What does CHPC mean?
Certified in healthcare privacy compliance. I'm certified through the HCCA, and that was part of my compliance area of it, specifically dealing with HIPAA, patient privacy, and not just the, oh, we got to keep the thing secret, but helping patients to understand what they can access, when they can access, how they can access it, what the timelines are, you know, really being an advocate for privacy rights of the patients and the health centers I was working with.
See, this is why I say that
And
because
that's one
I
of the
get
nice
so
things
many,
too about doing this.
yeah, I get so many people asking, "Oh, well, I'm an LPN. Can I do something?" And I wanted them to hear that, and for you to own that and let them know, yeah, you're a licensed practical nurse and you own your own business, and you're doing so many great things. Because as I'm
I
hearing you
do.
talk, I'm like, it sounds like you should have your PhD by now. Are you there?
Yeah, and it's that's the point of being able to, have that background and have that medical background. Who knows, LPNs knows that, we're the hands-on folks. I
Mm-hmm.
used to joke with my patients that you wanted to see the LPN come in the room in the hospital because that means you're good. Uh, so, having people get very hung up on credentials. They get very hung
Yes.
up on credentials. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that, nursing is nursing. And the kind of information that we are able to give and to communicate doesn't have a degree with it. That has a knowledge base that comes with it. So, don't be afraid to do that. Whatever your credentials are, you can learn to communicate this. Having doing medical writing and working with these health centers, having the medical background is important because then you're all talking the same language, because that's important as well. When
Yes.
you're not, I mean, the medical lingo, it's crazy. So if you don't mixing your acronyms incorrectly or something like that, you could cause some problems. So that part is helpful, but don't let anybody ever tell you that you don't have the right credentials to be able to do this. I know some folks that are doing medical writing that are medical assistants. So
Yep.
it just depends. And there's so many different areas to go into. The niching is crazy. I mean, my niche is the niche itself is like health center improvement. I would say is the actual kind of niche it is, but it involves all these different kinds of things. So it's neat.
Oh, okay. Looks like I lost your video for a second. There we go. All right. And so,
Yeah, I
um,
lost my video and I lost my background, so you get to see my wonderful office here. So
that's all right.
it's all good.
It's hey, as long as somebody's walking behind there in their underwear, we're all good, right?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. And so, I was going to say, if someone wanted to do what you were doing, how did you get started being a medical record? I mean, like, how do you get, how did you get your contacts? Just give us a little bit of how someone could break into the business if they wanted to know.
Yeah, so there's a bit of steep learning curve when it comes to starting your own business as a medical writer, because you have to think about everything from branding to your actual client acquisition. Like, how am I going to get paid? And the one thing that's good about having the background in nursing is resilience and client focused service. So that's a really good place to start. Now, moving from being an employee to being the leader of your own company, um, like shifting out of that employee mindset has probably been one of the hardest things, because it was all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I can do this. And I started, I can't even remember what it was, but I read something about, and I saw the term nurse writer. I'm like, what's that? I like to write and I'm a nurse. So I started looking on YouTube actually, and I found
Mhm.
a couple of YouTube sites and started listening to what they were saying and being like, yeah, I think, yeah, this makes sense. And you can kind of feel it. Like you feel it and you're just like the light bulb just kind of slowly, it has to roll up a little bit because you're used to being like, no, this is crazy. I can't do this by myself. But so it rolls up a little bit and then the light bulb finally goes off. And the one thing that I've heard, I think the most from folks who've asked me questions like that is, well, how do you know what to do? It's like you have transferable skills. As a nurse,
Yes.
you do documentation, you do writing, you do education, you know, keeping your calm. All of that stuff those are transferable skills. You just have to figure out what you want to do that can use those. I find things like Venn diagrams to be very helpful because I'm a data geek. And so, finding out like what are all these little bits, where do they come together and what makes sense. So um, that's kind of that's how I ended up doing this. It was just one of those things. And so I bought a couple books and then looked it up, and I live in Michigan, and it's really easy to register like an LLC here in the
Hmm.
state. So just started doing all the little bits and pieces. But that little bit, and this was before even starting doing any writing or looking for clients. And I can't stress how important it is to do that, to actually get those basics set up, because once you start getting clients, they're going to do things like asking for your W-9. They're going to start asking you for invoices. And if you don't have this stuff set up, then you're going to be scrambling, and that's going to cause stress.
Mhm.
And this is what we're trying to get away from by doing this, is that stress and that burnout. So take your time. It took me probably about a month and a half to 2 months to really get everything where I felt, "Okay, I've got at least all the basics." And then I started looking, "Okay, now where are my clients? I need to find people." And I found LinkedIn to be very helpful with that. That's actually how Tina and I found each other.
Yes.
But being able to find folks and not like stalk them and be like, hire me kind of stuff, but watching what they're doing, finding other medical writers. What are they posting? How are they connecting? What are some found some, really great bits and pieces in there from folks to be able to start putting together who I am, as a medical writer, and who I am as an entrepreneur. And that those were really the helpful things for me. And I also really want to stress that when you are doing this and branching out into this, it is the best chance you will ever have to truly be who you are. That authenticity, I can't even describe to you how exciting it is to come into a meeting, dressed like this with my hat on and all the jewelry and this stuff like that. And folks are like, I like you and I'm going to work with you. I have a really weird sense of humor. Sometimes, that's not everybody's cup of tea. The clients that I work with, they accept me for who I am because that's what they want to work with. And when you're scaling up your business and working on your business, you don't need 15 clients. 3 or 4 good clients with regular work and you're set. And if you can't deal with 3 or 4 people, then that's a whole other situation. But dealing with 3 or 4 editors that you're working with, that's the dream. I mean, it's the communication is there. You can show up just as you are. You don't have to put on any masks or faces. That is really fantastic. And being able to, really emphasize that human touch when you're presenting things to your clients, and being able to tailor stuff exactly to exactly what they need without somebody else telling you this is what you need to do. You can really follow your heart on this, and really there's nothing that feels better than that.
I happen to agree. You said a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. You said,
Sorry,
first of
there's
all,
a lot to unpack there.
that's
Sorry.
okay. Get your ducks in a row. And this is one of the reasons why I started the Nurse Shark Academy, because I had too many 911 calls where people didn't have their ducks in a row, and they're suddenly like, states at my door, help me out. And so let's get your foundation built so that you'll have
Hmm.
a successful launch of your business. And then the other thing is this, using that resilience that we have as nurses and using that as well to help
Hmm.
us to grow and to move forward and to stay in the game, because so many people give up and before they get where they want to go. So is there a moment in time when you started your business when you felt like you were ready to give up, and if so, how did you go through that?
Imposter syndrome is real. It is real. Okay. It doesn't matter how good and confident you are hanging out in your room or in your house. The first time you sit down to do that first discovery, you're called like, what am I doing? And actually, that was it. That was it for me. My first discovery call, I was just like getting ready for it, and I'm all pumped up, and I'm like, "Yep, I got my notes, and got my all ready to go." And the camera came on, and I was like, "Ah!" And then so it's just like your brain just stops, and you can just hear the work click, work click, work click, and you're like, "Please start, just please start." Eventually, it did start, and the clients were really great, and they were just they really wanted to work with me. They were found me actually through LinkedIn, and I on my LinkedIn profile I like steampunk, so a lot of my posts all have steampunk pictures, and I make those kind of references a lot, and that actually caught their eye. So yay authenticity, and
Yeah.
they knew what they were getting. So me sitting there going, was not something that even like phased them at all because I'm a little odd. So they're like, okay. So it actually gave my my brain a chance to kick into gear, and then I was able to go with it. And then once you get rolling, I mean, you know your stuff. You know your stuff. And don't let that imposter syndrome make you feel like, oh, I can't do this. What am I thinking? I can't talk to these people about this. I've only been doing it for, whenever, however many weeks or months it is. It doesn't matter because you have to be a problem solver. And that's why they're talking to you. They're not talking to you because of the color of your hair. They're not talking to you because of your credentials, quite frankly. They're talking to you because you have a solution to a problem that they have. And just present that solution. You know what you're doing on that. So don't ever feel like I can't do it. And if your brain does stop and starts doing the work click, just give it a second, it'll kick in.
That is so true. That is so true. I appreciate that because sometimes, when I pick up that phone, make that phone call to talk to the attorney or call that home care agency, I'm like, what do I say? We all go through that every time. All right. So I want to thank you. So if someone wanted to work with you or wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do so?
Easiest way to get in touch with me is actually through email. And my email is Andrea at clockworkcursive.com. I also have a website that is clockworkcursive.com as well. That you can reach out there. You can see what I have that I'm offering. Um, when I think about, people, sometimes you have to do that whole elevator pitch bit, and folks are like, hey, what are you offering, or what can you bring? And so I talk about the clinical experience. I talk about the communication expertise. I depending on the audience, I'll bring the comment of, hey, I'm bringing a neurodivergent mind to the table. Please use my OCD to your advantage. Um, Understanding both the operational and the practical human side of healthcare, and just offering those efficient solutions. So uh, obviously I have an approachable attitude. I use humor a lot. When I
Hmm.
do trainings, I can usually get folks laughing because if you're laughing, you're learning. There's just something in the way the brain brings that in. So those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me. I am on LinkedIn as well. So you can always look me up there. It's pretty obvious which one's mine.
Well, we
Not a
will
whole lot of
definitely.
folks in top hats and steampunk goggles on LinkedIn. So
You know what? I didn't know what steampunk was until I saw an episode of Tiny House Hunters, or no, Tiny
yes,
House Built Living, and I
yeah,
saw that, and I thought that's what steampunk is.
it's when goths discovered brown. So
All right. Well, I'll have all that information in the show notes so you can look her up and get to her website, clockworkcursive.com. And I want to thank you, Andrea, for hanging out with us today. This has been great. And
awesome.
I really think nurses will resonate with this because we're always looking for the next thing to be innovative. And I love the show showing what nurses can do. I mean, there's so many different
Yeah.
things that are out there.
Well, and just a couple, like, just really quick. I know we're winding
Mhm.
down here, but just
Yeah.
really quick. So one of the things that you can really do when you're starting out is use your local library. I know, like, through my library that I have here, I can actually get on and do LinkedIn courses and courses from other places for free with your library card. So please get out there, get those certifications. Join online communities of other folks that are talking. I'm on the Inkwell, which is Liz Heflin's creation there.
Mhm.
Fantastic way to quick ask questions of folks that are doing the same things you're doing right now. um, be ready to pivot when opportunity strikes. Those are really the big things. And then, when you're ready, if you can find yourself a mentor and somebody that kind of aligns with who you are and what you want to do. My current mentor right now is Miss Sophie Ash with
Mhm.
Prosperology.
Yes.
And I think she actually said she knew you. Um,
I
but
think she's
she's,
on our show. Yes.
yeah, I mean, she's fantastic. So, but that's all that stuff can come later. The first thing you've just really got to do is believe in yourself. I believe in you. I know you guys can do this. So go out there and get them.
I so agree. I so agree. I just think nurses are just awesome and we can
Yes.
do anything. All right. Well, this wraps up our show. I want to thank you for watching us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. This is your notification to subscribe and your reminder, and then hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time that we have a new episode. And if you're listening to us through our audio podcast, through Podbean, or wherever you get your podcast, don't forget to leave us a like and a comment. We would greatly appreciate that. We also have available for those of you that are patrons for our podcast show for the audio, we have special episodes for you on leadership and talking to some people behind the scenes to help you build your business. So become a patron today. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Nurse Shark Academy show, and we'll see you next time. Ready to turn your nursing skills into a thriving business? At the Nurse Shark Academy, we give you expert strategies, real startup guidance, and the support to go from employee to empowered entrepreneur. Join us and build the nurse-owned business of your dreams. Start today and join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the nursesharkacademy.biz.